Um, Hello. I'm going to be reading something that I wrote called The Tales of a Teenage Girl. It's basically just like little something I wrote about my experiences growing up and being socialized as a teenage girl. There's some uncomfortable topics here. For some people, maybe. I don't know if you don't like cursing or stuff. Maybe move along. I don't know. And I'm looking at my screen to read it, so if I'm like looking at the camera weird, that's why. Um, and I'm not the best like reader, so bear with me. And I'll leave it down below so you can read it with me if you would like. And I'm also not a great like writer. I'm no one of the great authors. I'm not that. So, but I don't know. I just feel like sharing it. So here we go. The Tales of a Teenage Girl. Trying so hard not to end up like Mommy Dearest, and trying not to end up with someone like Daddy Dearest. Because all she wanted was for the people who had unfortunately burdened her with this gift of life to appreciate and value hers. Although nothing seemed to work, they were never satisfied, either unbothered or disappointed. Must be so hard for a little girl. Through it all, she was never mad, just overwhelmed and tired from all the effort it took to keep going when she hasn't even hit double digits. When she spoke, all her words were turned around and jumbled, thrown back at her little face, so she learned to be quiet and submissive like a good little girl should be. This way, the only one who could punish her was herself, which she did, time and time again. Having to be a mother when you're still learning your multiplication factors is hard. It turns you into a cold, shy person who can be unapproachable. She was supposed to be a child, instead she was busy raising one. That little girl missed all her moments, the innocent crushes, those close friendships, sleepovers, parties, getting ready for her first dance, her first kiss, feeling pretty when she looked in the mirror, childhood bliss. She tried to find validation in her schoolwork, but no one was proud and someone was always smarter. She kept trying, though, slowly killing herself in the process. She tried searching in her hobbies, but that path was too competitive for the submissive little bitch she had raised herself to be. When those things could no longer distract her, kept her on autopilot all those years, she began to notice all the people around her had crushes, people to take to ho-ho, kisses, and some sort of start of an exploration into their sexualities, which she had yet to do. Usually, you'd start that conversation with close peers, maybe, or most often with your family. She couldn't end up like Mommy Dearest, who had her firstborn at the age this little girl was then. So her family covered her ears because no one wanted a whore of a daughter. This little girl wasn't pretty enough yet to express her feelings towards another with her peers, who she thought were oh so beautiful. She wasn't completely undesirable, though those older guys in their early 20s took quite a notice of her deep-rooted self-hatred and desperation she had to feel validated by another. So, of course, they took it upon themselves to teach her the birds and the bees. As we know, she was so submissive and so quiet and such a good little girl, always doing what she was told. So it was quite easy with the guidance of these men to finally be somebody else's good little girl. Although girl was being nice, that's not often the word these men used to describe this child. Of course, sooner or later, that situation blew up in her face and in the face of another little girl as well. But they forgot to tell us that it wasn't our fault, that we were just confused young girls. Instead, we were sluts, homewreckers, and skanks. So we took those words and we ran with it, taken advantage of time and time again, because everyone wanted a piece of the mentally distraught virgin who was so easily manipulated, waiting for her innocence to get ripped right from her hands. Being told that you were too young to claim, to love, to call their own, but just old enough to be used as their personal teenage porn library is quite confusing for a little girl, and oh no, look what happened. No different than Mommy Dearest, and been with people far worse than Daddy Dearest. As time passed, she continued to find validation with these men that she had the misfortune of crossing paths with. So she could never satisfy herself or her family, But she was able to satisfy those guys, and they always made sure to show her proof. To cope, she found herself turning to substances that broke her sobriety and darkened her lungs, destroyed her insides, making her so sick she could barely stand. She was wasting away, constantly stabbing herself in the back, quite literally too, except her thighs were more accessible. She was so embarrassed, her family so disappointed, making sure to put their 2 cents in, which they conveniently never found the time to do all those 17 years. They were never shy about making her feel like a failure, but she knew, she always did. She tried to take herself out of the equation numerous times, but she failed at that too. She was never quite good at math. She was stuck here. So as time passed, she tried to get rid of those bad habits she had picked up from all those exhausting years. She tried learning to love herself, to wear what she wanted, to be who she wanted, to say what she wanted, to love who she wanted. No surprise, it was never enough. She didn't have a small, petite frame or A-cup tits, so when she left the house finally in clothes that she wanted, that made her feel pretty, she was a whore, a slut, asking for it, attracting the wrong attention, because it was her fault that people would stare. Men with kids her age, or half her age, men with wives. How dare she not be considerate of the poor wives and their pedophilic fathers or husbands who couldn't help themselves with their ungodly urges. When she tried to be considerate of those sick men and their poor wives, she tried to cover up, like a good little girl she had always been. But then she was fat and ugly, undesirable, a prude. So she had 2 choices. Be ugly and a prude, or pretty and a whore. She could never just be pretty, always pretty enough for people to want to enter her body, but never her mind. When she tried to love who she wanted, it was gross, sinful. She needed to find Jesus or go to hell. How dare she ever look at a woman the same way she could look at a man? How dare she not fit the ideal picture of creating the nuclear family where she would be the doting housewife with her perfect husband? And how dare she not want to be she anymore? How dare she ever have any sort of dysphoria and be ungrateful for the body that so many men have graciously beat their dicks to? How could she ever ask for a simple favor to be called something other than daughter or niece? After all, she must just be confused, making another mistake with the ideas her radical peers have poisoned her mind with. How could she ever ask to be treated with decency and respect in order to just not feel so terrifically uncomfortable with her identity? This is the tales of a teenage girl. You may not know her, or maybe you do, but you didn't know her story yet, and maybe now that you've heard it, you wish that you hadn't, but don't worry, she wishes the same. But do not fret, my friend, this chapter may have closed, but a new one is being written. A much happier one, a chapter where that teenager is trying and doing the best that they can. They are regaining that power that was stolen from them. Where they are no longer being taken advantage of, so happy and openly loving women, being something other than she. In this chapter, they are so proud that they are no longer trying to search for validation in others, no longer worried about mommy or daddy dearest or whoever else, no longer a good little girl, no longer a girl, they are just them, and choosing to continue the best way that they can after living the tales of a teenage girl. So yeah, I'm sorry that I messed up a lot when I was reading. People were texting me. A lot was going on in the background. I kind of get distracted easily. But yeah. And me sharing this, I feel like I look weird. Me sharing this was not to be oh, this is my sob story. And no one can relate, and that's not what it was. I think the crazy thing about this is that this story is so incredibly ununique. If I were to ask my friends to write, their stories. I'm sure more than half of them would be quite similar to this one. And you know, when we share our stories with each other, we tend to do it in casual, passing conversations and laugh about it because it is what it is, and it is so incredibly common for things just like these to happen to, I don't know, people my age. And I just wanted to, you know, write how I feel because sometimes, I don't know, it's so easy to invalidate your experiences, which I'm so very guilty of doing. But this was kind of me not doing that and speaking up about some of the things that I went through because you know what, they weren't the best. And you know, although it doesn't completely make up who I am as a person, they did happen to me and they do affect me or affected me. Um, and I don't want to be ashamed of it. And you know, maybe if I say something, maybe more people will be willing to be open about their experiences. Because I don't know, I used to be kind of like embarrassed by some of the things that were kind of like touched upon in this. But they're not. It's not embarrassing. It's my life. I lived it. I experienced it. I don't know. I guess I just didn't want anyone to think that these things made me different than who I am. Because at the end of the day, I'm still me. Or that, I don't know. I very much am like, I can take care of myself and I don't need your help. And I don't want people to like see me as this fragile person or see me as all the things that happened to me. I want just people to see me as me. And they do. Despite what things maybe have happened. And, you know, and just because maybe my story is not unique doesn't mean it didn't affect me in any way or didn't. I don't know. I'm just trying to say that you're valid. Your experiences are valid regardless of how unique they are or how bad they may be compared to other people. Like, they're valid. If it bothers you, it's valid. And in case nobody has told you lately, you know, you are so incredibly worthy of love and life and happiness. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it gets better and blah blah because you don't want to hear that from me. I don't think you want to hear that from anyone. I know it definitely hasn't helped me. And even what I'm saying now, you're probably like, what is this bitch saying? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. But yeah, and I hope that any person who comes across this video, that one day that you get the pleasure of looking back at yourself now and being so proud of the person you've become and being so happy with who you are because you deserve to feel that. It's a wonderful feeling, even if it isn't always so constant. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know you, but I can confidently say that you are a wonderful person. And you are beautiful inside and out. Like look at me. You see, I'm blushing. It's because you're just so wonderful. I'm flustered. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's all I had to say. If you come across this and you just need an outlet, I don't know, comment down below. Or I can leave my Instagram and you can DM me and tell me all your problems. I'll be like, girl, me too. I don't know. Probably no one will see this, but in case they do, I love you and I care about you, even if I don't know you. Unless you're like an old hoe of mine. Yeah. I don't know. I think I've covered all that. And when in doubt, I'll look back at this video when I'm 30 and be like, what is this bitch putting out on the internet? So, yeah. Anyways, I love you. Peace out. Girl Scout, Boy Scout, any other type of scout, captain. See you later. Hope you enjoyed. I was supposed to end there.